Good morning. Good morning and good day to you. John TheMorgile here, checking in for some NASA news for you. Hope you do enjoy it. So what's up, guys? Good morning. It's Sunday, March the 10th, 2024. In case you didn't know, the time just went up this morning, so it kind of threw my morning off. I hope y'all are having a easy time keeping your schedules intact. Oh, okay. If you could give us a thumbs up in the chat there so I know that you can see me and hear me well, I would appreciate it. And I hope that y'all are having a blessed day. All right, looks like we are live. Rajamak, good morning. Jeffrey Thomas Hatfield is asking about a midnight ride with David Carrico on the coming eclipse. I'm not familiar with David or the show, but I have seen some, I don't know, I guess you could say hoopla about the upcoming eclipse. And I don't know, man, it's probably just going to be another eclipse as far as I can tell, but who knows, right? Maybe the Anunnaki will come down on a cloud and take back all their gold, right? I'm kidding. I don't know, man. Okay, so it looks like we're live, loud, and clear. Got a few things that I wanted to go over with y'all. There never is a shortage of just crazy antics and shenanigans coming from the likes of NASA. But yeah, please do give us a thumbs up if you enjoy the content, and give us a share. Help spread the word through the algorithm. Algorithm don't like us flurfers, so we do got to stick together, if you know what I mean. All right. So, and this computer is just so on my nerves, y'all. You're gonna have to bear with me. It literally took me like 45 minutes to do something that should take less than 2 minutes this morning. For some reason, I'll check my task manager and there'll be like 50 or 60 instances of Firefox running, which, I guess on some computers that's not a big deal, but when you got 4 gigs of RAM and you're running Windows 10 or whatever, it's just like this thing bogs down, man, and I'm just sitting there ripping my hair out. So I did a restart, and that took a good 30 minutes. So luckily, I'm surprised I'm on time. Let me just put it that way. But so the first thing that I wanted to talk about, we're going to reference an article from jpl.nasa.gov. NASA unveils design for message heading to Jupiter's moon Europa. Which if you see the thumbnail of this video, I guess on the top right, there's like a placard, and that's the thing that they're talking about here. The side that you see on the thumbnail of this video, it says this side of a commemorative plate mounted on NASA's Europa Clipper spacecraft features U.S. Poet Laureate Ada Limon's handwritten in praise of mystery, a poem for Europa. It will be affixed with a silicone microchip stenciled with names submitted by the public. So there's our tax dollars at work, right? I mean, what a stupid thing. Just a stupid waste of time and money as far as I'm concerned. Like, even if you could send lying Freemasons to the moons of Jupiter, like they claim, what are they trying to accomplish with this sort of thing? Knowing what we know as flurfers, they're not sending anything anywhere. They're sending rockets into the ocean, multi-billion-dollar fireworks show, basically. But when it launches in October, the agency's Europa Clipper spacecraft will carry a richly layered dispatch that includes more than 2.6 million names submitted by the public. And I guess they're saying that those 2.6 million names are going to be stenciled on a silicone microchip, which I'm not sure how that works. Like, how do you, like, I thought you stored data on a microchip, but it sounds to me the way they're describing this is they're physically stenciling 2.6 million names on a microchip. I don't know, but we'll read this together because I'm not 100% sure what they're talking about. But what a just stupid waste of time and money. And you know, of course, they've got to pay some bonehead $250,000 a year to come up with these shenanigans, right? But the article says, following NASA's storied tradition of sending inspirational messages into space, the agency has special plans for Europa Clipper, which later this year will launch towards Jupiter's moon, Europa. And I guess the article will probably touch on it, but if y'all aren't up to speed, they're now claiming that Jupiter's moon, Europa, has the potentiality to support life, right? So, you know, that's going to be another 50-year psychological operation where they use Europa to convince people that, you know, if we just pollute the crap out of planet Earth, we can all escape. Or, you know, the rich Illuminati asshole guys can all escape to the, you know, Jupiter's moon, Europa. Yeah, so it says the moon shows strong evidence of an ocean under its icy crust with more than twice the amount of water of all of Earth's oceans combined. A triangular metal plate on the spacecraft will honor that connection to Earth in several ways. Oh, brother. So at the heart of the artifact is an engraving of this U.S. poet laureate Ada Limon's handwritten in praise of mystery, a poem for Europa. Like, how stupid is that? And I wonder how much they paid or petitioned or whatever. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm out of vocabulary words today, but I wonder how much that cost to, you know, to pay this poet to come up with that nonsense. It's probably beautiful, but like, what's the point? What are they trying to accomplish with that? So, like, I guess what I'm saying is even if there are little green men living on Europa, you know, hypothetically, according to their spiel, like, what is the point? So they're saying that poem, along with a silicone microchip stenciled with more than 2.6 million names submitted by the public. And again, I don't get that. Like, how do you stencil 2.6 million names on a microchip? I mean, surely they mean the data is stored on there, right? Like, how do you fit 2.6 million anything physically stenciled on a microchip? Like, I must be misinterpreting this, right? Anyway, the microchip will be the centerpiece of an illustration of a bottle amid the Jovian system, a reference to NASA's Message in a Bottle campaign, not the Sting song, right? Or whatever. Message in a Bottle campaign, which invited the public to send their names with the spacecraft. Like, how stupid. Like, and, you know, for anybody that did that, whatever. But my point is, like, how much did this all cost, I wonder? Because you and I, we're all paying for it. I mean, my American people that are watching, our tax dollars hard at work, right? So it says a golden record for Europa, made of the metal tantalum and about 7 by 11 inches. The plate features graphic elements on both sides. The outward facing panel features art that highlights Earth's connection to Europa. Linguists collected recordings of the word water spoken in 103 languages from families of languages around the world. The audio files were then converted into waveforms, like, you know, the visual representations of sound waves, so like little squiggly lines, like a polygraph thing or whatever. And then they etched those waveforms onto the plate. These waveforms radiate out from a symbol representing the American Sign Language sign for water. like as if the little aliens living on Europa speak sign language, you know, of course they do. But like really, how stupid is this? Tasha Teeling says it's like the spaced version of the Georgia Guidestones, right? Only far more generic and way more expensive, you know. So there's a picture of the reverse there. You can pull it up online, but it's all these little waveforms etched into a triangular plate with rounded corners. And first of all, let me just say that these physical waveforms, these etchings of waveforms, don't mean diddly squat. Like you can't, it's not like you can play a waveform back, even if you have a computer that, you know, is a Windows computer or whatever, right? The waveform is just a physical, visual representation of a sound wave that helps you with editing. It's like for visual cues for when you're editing. But it's not like you're gonna take a waveform and then put it in a computer and play it back, right? As far as I know, I mean, maybe there's some new AI technology that can reconstruct actual sounds from just a waveform. But as far as I can tell, you know, the waveform for the spoken word water would look very similar to the waveform of the spoken word father or the spoken word bottle. Like it's so stupid. But, you know, of course, NASA comes up with this nonsense to, like, what, they have to have something to spend their $30 billion a year on. But how stupid. This is really like taking NASA's shenanigans to a whole new level, in my opinion. It says the art on this side of the plate with the waveforms, which will seal an opening of the vault on NASA's Europa Clipper, features waveforms that are visual representations of the sound waves formed by the word water in 103 languages. To hear audio of the spoken languages and see the sign, you can go to the nasa.gov page. In the spirit of the Voyager spacecraft's golden record, which we all remember that from the 70s or whatever, that one carries sounds and images to convey the richness and diversity of life on Earth. Because we all know how space aliens, they all have standardized record players, right? Of course they do. The layered message on Europa Clipper aims to spark the imagination and offer a unifying vision. To who? Like, spark whose imagination and offer a unifying vision to whom? Like, what are they, like, what's the point? Like, what a huge waste of time and money. Like, it really is stupid, in my opinion. Like, maybe I'm wrong. I'm not very nostalgic. I mean, I am nostalgic for certain things, but, like, I don't get very excited for things like time capsules and, you know, whatever. But this, to me, seems like really just boneheaded idea, really. It says in 2030, after a 1.6 billion mile journey, Europa Clipper will begin orbiting Jupiter, making 49 close flybys of Europa, according to NASA's Live Factory. James Galloway says, when he was young, Dr. Russell told us that space was a vacuum where nothing can exist. And fast forward to now, where we are expected to believe that space is brimming with life. Yeah. Good morning, the Roche of Roofie fame. Okay. So, okay, back to the article. To determine if there are conditions that could support life, the spacecraft's powerful suite of science instruments, whatever the hell that means, will gather data about the moon's subsurface ocean, icy crust, thin atmosphere, and space environment. So let's get this straight, just to make sure we're all on the same page here. NASA already knows that there's how much water's on this planet. They already know, like, that there's oceans underneath the crust of the planet. or the moon or whatever. And they're going to send science instruments on a robot to determine if there are conditions that could support life. And it's the thing's only supposedly going to get there in 2030. So it's really good science, yeah. But just what a scam. The audacity of these mofos, in my opinion, is legendary, right? Because we all know, and I will say, I think, honestly, guys, we're getting real close to the point of the sort of critical mass with the flat earth movement that we've sort of been dreaming about and wanting to usher in for years now. But like, if you're paying attention to social media, anybody that is even slightly, and I'll use the term woke in the old context, not this newfangled context of wokeism, but anybody in internet land that's even slightly aware or awake to these things that go on in our world, more and more people are just coming to terms with the fact that flat earth is just the obvious and self-evident truth, right? Because whenever there's the advent of some new paradigm that hits the streets or whatever, first it's violently opposed and ridiculed, and then finally it goes through those stages to where it's just accepted by the casual observer as a self-evident fact, because that is what it is, right? It's pretty clear and obvious once you get through the deconditioning, right? And I think we're getting there. I think we're getting to the point where there's just more and more people you'll see in the sphere of internet land that are just coming out and saying, yeah, Earth's flat, obviously. So that is a good thing to see. But these motherfuckers are going to do whatever they can to try to keep their charade and their grift going. And so this is just the next thing that they're doing. But what a stupid waste of time this is. But they're going to have science instruments on this Europa Clipper. And the electronics for those instruments are housed in a massive metal vault designed to protect them from Jupiter's punishing radiation. The commemorative plate will seal an opening in the vault. So it's like a metal cover for this thing. It's so stupid, but let's just remember, it wasn't that long ago where the Artemis thing, the Artemis Lie-mobile that supposedly brought back the dirt from space, the dirt from the asteroid or whatever. And if you'll remember, NASA, when they physically had the thing in front of them, they weren't even able, it took them 3 months to open the container to get at the dirt that was billion-year-old dirt or whatever. Amazing dirt. But what my point is, if they can't even get things to function when they've got hands on it and, all of the money in the world at their disposal, how do they expect science instruments to work? What do they say? 1.5 billion miles away in the radiation of Jupiter. It's if you just give them the benefit of the doubt and go with their narrative in terms of what they're saying, it is just so unbelievable that they expect people to buy this nonsense. It really is ridiculous. So because searching for habitable conditions is central to the mission, the Drake equation is also etched onto the plate as well on the inward facing side. And you all remember the Drake equation, right? That's so according to their narrative, there's so many galaxies, each galaxy holding millions of suns or stars, and each star hosting, dozens of planets or whatever. So there's quadrillion, bajillion planets that could host life according to the Drake equation. So they're going to put that on there. I mean, this is clearly conditioning the masses to start believing that there's aliens on Europa, and we're sending space probes, live mobiles up there to deliver generic little plaques and basically like a time capsule with science instruments. I am interested to see the science instruments that they're going to bring on there, but not really. Like, we already know what they're going to. Well, let's just see. We'll see, because I do have other stuff I wanted to share with you guys, but we'll follow that link for their little science instruments on the Europa Clipper, and then back to that article we were just on. So this is also from europa.nasa.gov. Excuse me. Europa Clipper will carry science instruments more advanced and sensitive than anything that's explored this Jovian moon before. Through thoughtful collaboration, the mission scientists will attempt to discover whether Europa hosts environments suitable for life. And I can tell you right now, my prediction is for like the year 2040, when they finally figure out whether or not Europa can host life, it's going to be a big fat no. Because, well, you can't live on lights in the firmament, right? The idea that Europa is a terra firma sphere in space that could potentially host life is absurd from where I'm sitting, because, all of that pretense is on the fact that the Earth is a spinning ball in space too. The Earth is demonstrably and obviously not a spinning ball in space, because it doesn't have curvature and it's not in motion. Then that really, like, the whole concept of terra firma spheres in space just goes right out the window with it, right? So my prediction is they could just save their quadrillions of dollars that they're going to spend sending placards up to Europa, or pretending to do so. Can you handle that?
Yeah.
Please? Okay.
I just did while ago.
Okay.
Hello?
Sorry.
Busy, he's working right now.
So Europa. So the spacecraft will not carry life-seeking instruments.
Yeah.
Instead, we must first answer other questions, such as,
All right.
does Europa really contain an ocean beneath its shell of ice? So they already knew. So, like, the other article just said that there's more water, there's more ocean water on Europa than all of the oceans on the world combined. But now this article is saying they don't really even know if it has an ocean at all. So, like, which one is it, NASA? How deep is the ocean? Does the chemistry of the ocean seem friendly for microbes? Is Europa's ice shell active, allowing surface material to migrate to the ocean and vice versa, perhaps enriching the ocean with molecules from above that could serve as food for organisms? So their science instruments include imagers like cameras, spectrometry. Different atoms and molecules emit, absorb, and reflect various wavelengths of light in telltale ways. As such, light carries information about materials it has interacted with, plasma and magnetic field, radar and gravity, chemical analysis, conclusion. Okay. And, let's just back up the wagon a bit, because, what is science? Like, what is science? Is science a worldview? Is science a set of beliefs? Is science gadgets? Is science instruments, like high-tech instruments? Is that what science is? No. What science is understanding nature by observing natural phenomenon, and then you've got independent variables, and you're going to try and establish cause and effect relationships in nature by varying these independent variables and seeing what comes out, right? That's science. Science is a process to understand nature, right? Science is not sending gadgets and placards into space. Like, that isn't what science is. And so this whole delusional narrative is just absurd to me. So like these are the types of things that they're supposedly sending up there. I just went through the list, but their conclusion on this secondary article we delved into, it says conclusion, engineers, machinists, and scientists are now building and testing Europa Clipper's science instruments and other hardware. The spacecraft is currently coming together. The team is refining the spacecraft's flight path to Jupiter and its tour of orbits around the planet, in which it will make dozens of Europa flybys. Whatever Europa Clipper reveals could change our understanding of the solar system and other planetary systems forever. Quote, this is a giant step in our search for oases that could support life in our own celestial backyard, said Kurt Niebuhr. He said, we're confident that this versatile set of science instruments would produce exciting discoveries on a much anticipated mission. So yeah, I'm sorry, but running mock tests and pretending to send instruments to space is not science. Really, and I've said this before, but theoretical astrophysics in general is not science. It is, it's actually an oxymoron. It's a contradiction in terms, right? So theoretical being things of the mind and of theory of intangible things, and physics being physical things, right? So you put the two together and they cancel each other out, right? It's a literal oxymoron. So anyway, so there's your science instruments that are going to Europa, allegedly. And, you know, I'd love to know, like, how exactly do they plan to, it's just so stupid. I'm not even going to grace them with thinking about that too much, because it's like, it's so stupid. Jupiter's a light in the sky. The heavens are a mystery, and the firmament shows the Creator's handiwork indeed. But you're not sending anything up there. It is not possible. You can't leave the physical plane, people, not in this body. Like, maybe when we die, our spirits and souls or whatever go elsewhere, however that works. I don't pretend to know. But lying Freemasons ain't going to Europa, dude. I'm just saying. And hopefully by the year 2030, when this thing allegedly gets there, you know, it'll just be commonly understood knowledge that that space is fake, and they've been lying their asses off, you know, NASA, about everything starting with Apollo missions, right? Okay, so back to that first article, we got off on the tangent of the science instruments that are going to gather data about the moon's subsurface ocean that they're not even sure exists, but are certain that it exists too at the same time. Icy crust, thin atmosphere, and space environment. The electronics for those instruments are housed in a massive metal vault designed to protect them from Jupiter's punishing radiation. And how in the hell are they going to open it when it's on in Jupiter's moon, right? Because they can't even open vaults that they have in front of them, you know, with their own hands on, right? So, but of course, this will go off without a hitch because it's a fantasy. It doesn't actually exist. Yeah, it'll be 2030, 2040 minimum. Yeah, they're kicking the can out as far as they can kick it, for sure. Because searching for habitable conditions is central to the mission, the Drake equation is etched onto the plate as well on the inward-facing side. So if they can't open it, then they'll be, you know, the aliens on Europa will be deprived of the Drake equation because they'll be too stupid to figure that out on their own, of course. Astronomer Frank Drake developed the mathematical formulation in 1961 to estimate the possibility of finding advanced civilizations beyond Earth. The equation has inspired and guided research in astrobiology and related fields ever since. Right. So just pausing with the article there, I was watching something on YouTube the other day, and dude was talking about the Drake equation, and it, you know, it's a a content creator that I watch from time to time, and he was just marveling at how, you know, how many galaxies there are and how many stars there are in each galaxy and how many planets there are for each star. And even if it's, you know, 0.01% of planets are habitable for life, you know, there's hundreds of billions of life-giving planets. And, you know, all of that is a fantasy that is, you know, it relies, it necessitates the Earth being a spinning ball in space, right? So again, and I hate to sound like a broken record, but once you realize that the Earth couldn't be a sphere because it doesn't have any curvature anywhere, so it's definitely not a sphere, and furthermore, the Earth is definitely obviously stationary. It is a fixed frame of reference. It could not possibly be a spinning ball in any sense. Then this whole fantasy about infinite space and other destinations and the Drake equation is just pipe dreams, man. It's nonsense. In addition, artwork on the inward-facing side of the plate will include a reference to the radio frequencies considered plausible for interstellar communication, symbolizing how humanity uses this radio band to listen for messages from the cosmos. Like, how stupid. Like, this is really stupid. I mean, even humoring their shtick, right? Aliens could be gelatinous blobs like jellyfish, you know, or like they could be so smart that, you know, they would never stoop to playing records on a record player because everything's digital. I mean, again, this is all nonsense, but it's just, what a waste of time. It's just so unbelievably daft and stupid, like what they're doing here. These particular frequencies match the radio waves emitted in space by the components of water and are known by astronomers as the water hole. On the plate, they are depicted as radio emission lines. Yeah, because, you know, we know space aliens are all, you know, obviously going to know what radio emission lines are in a human construct, right? Finally, the plate includes a portrait of one of the founders of planetary science, Ron Greeley, whose early efforts to develop a Europa mission 2 decades ago laid the foundation for Europa Clipper. A founder of planetary science 2 decades ago? Like, how could he be a founder of planetary science when he was doing anything 2 decades ago, right? I mean, I thought the founders of planetary science was like Newton or like, I don't know, Galileo or something. I don't know. These people give themselves way too much damn credit, in my opinion. We got a quote here. We've packed a lot of fudge. No. He didn't say that. We've packed a lot of thought and inspiration into this plate design, as we have into the mission itself. Yeah, you've packed a lot of nonsense onto a lie-mobile, bro, says project scientist Robert Pappalardo of NASA's JPL in Southern Cali. Quote, "It's been decades-long journey, and we can't wait to see what Europa Clipper shows us is this water world." So they're certain that it's a water world, but they're not even sure if the oceans are actually on it. I mean, it's absurd. Once assembly of Europa Clipper has been completed at JPL, the spacecraft will be shipped to NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida in preparation for its October launch. Europa Clipper's main science goal is to determine whether there are places below Jupiter's icy moon, Europa, that could support life. That's just written weird. I mean, I guess they mean below the surface, but the way that they wrote it, like, honestly, NASA, if you give me a job editing your copy, I'll make your public image way better. I mean, this is just stupidly written, though, right? So I'll read it again. Europa Clipper's main science goal is to determine whether there are places below Jupiter's icy moon, Europa, that could support life. Clearly they mean below the surface of the planet. Moon. The mission's 3 main science objectives are to determine the thickness of the moon's icy shell and its surface interactions with the ocean below, to investigate its composition, and to characterize its geology. The mission's detailed exploration of Europa will help scientists better understand the astrobiological potential for habitable worlds beyond our planet. I'll give you a hint and save you billions of dollars. There ain't none. There ain't no habitable worlds other than the physical plane that we all dwell on. And NASA knows this, like maybe not the grunts or, the underlings or the people on NASA's payroll. They probably don't know. They're all products of this system that cranks out mindless drones who believe the Earth's a spinning ball. They don't know their ass from a hole in the ground when it comes to that sort of thing. But NASA knows, like at the higher levels, they know that they're not getting off of this physical plane. But for whatever reason, it's been mandated somewhere in our past that they want basically human population to be a slave race. And it's much easier to have a human population of slaves that are mindless drones who think they live stuck to the side of a spinning ball in an infinite space. They're really scared for us to find out that we are divinely created beings with immense potential. Because when we do come to that, and when we do meet our true potential as a species, those guys are screwed, right? But as long as people are just conditioned into being basically like rats in a maze, despite all our rage, right? As long as they keep people down like that, they can continue whatever it is that they do, man. I don't even pretend to know what their end game is. I mean, I guess, as long as they are being enriched on our slave labor, then I guess that's their end game. I don't know. I don't know what their end game is, man, but it ain't gonna happen. Because we're living in the days of revelation, man. All lies and all these deceptions are going to come into the light of knowledge, and the truth will be told. And thank God that we are living in these times, right? Thank God for revelation, honestly. Okay, so that does it for the first article. The second one that I wanted to go over with you, what do you all think about that? Like, let me see in the comments, like, are they going to actually find that Europa is habitable and then start sending people out there, or pretending to anyways? Or are they just going to come back in 20 or 30 years and say, oh, well, we tried and Europa is just not going to support life. It's poisonous. It rains diamonds there, or whatever, all the nonsense they come up with. So this is just from yesterday. This is spacenews.com. Congress passes final fiscal year 2024 spending bill for NASA, NOAA, and FAA. And so they lump in the FAA. Isn't that the Federal Aviation Authority? They just lump those in together. The Rocher says Satan has once again blindfolded humanity to believe that elites, to believe the elites that control most people. Yeah. Space stories are so stupid it has to be AI generated. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Maybe, but like it seems to me like no, that like the guy that comes up with the anagrams for NASA or the abbreviations, like maybe he has a brother that's in the business of coming up with space stories, and that they crank the. Maybe he is using AI because it is stupid, but I think AI would be a little bit more creative than this. Like they would. I don't know. It just seems like such a stupid waste of time to engrave that placard and put it on the side of something that's just going in the ocean anyways. But it's like, even if what they were saying was true, even if it was possible to send, physical craft to the moons of Jupiter and land them there, or whatever they're claiming to do, what a stupid waste of time it is to put these little waveforms and poems and the Drake equation. Like, how stupid is that? They'll find a new barrier that will require more money to solve the next problem. Yeah, of course. Okay, so I just wanted to touch on the spending bill for NASA, NOAA, and the FAA, which at the rate that planes are just falling apart and like falling out of the sky these days, you'd think that they'd be treating the FAA with a little bit more dignity than NASA and their lie-mobiles that don't amount to anything, that never accomplish diddly squat, right? Washington. Congress has passed a final fiscal year 2024 spending bill that provides, in some cases, significantly less funding than requested for civil space programs. The Senate passed a spending bill March 8th that combined 6 separate spending bills, including those for commerce, justice and science, and transportation. Commerce, justice and science, and transportation. Like, how do those things belong in the same category? Like, I don't understand that. That's kind of stupid. That's like an ear, nose, throat, and butt cheek doctor. I don't know. Like, what? The House passed the bill 2 days earlier, and the Senate passage came hours before continuing resolution funding. Those parts of the government was set to expire. Like, isn't it funny how the House and Senate can't accomplish anything, but when it comes to doling out billions of dollars to the lying Freemasons at NASA, they just send it right on through, don't they? The bill was unchanged from what the House and Senate appropriators released March the 3rd. It provides NASA with a $24.875 billion for 2024, which is 8.5% below its original request and 2% lower even before adjusting for inflation from what NASA received in 2023. So, like, I guess some of NASA's money went to Ukraine or something. I don't know. Like, what? Who cares? So NASA's going to have to scrape by, because it's hard to be NASA, as they say. They're going to have to scrape by with a measly $24 billion, 0.875. So that 0.875 is 875 million, right? That's just after the point. 24.875 billion. So the 0.875, that's $875 million. That's crazy, dude. Crazy. And like, really, what do we have to show for all that money going to NASA? I'd love to know. I mean, we've got the zero-G coffee cup that Don Pettit invented in space, right? And that's the only thing that's ever been invented in space, by the way. Tang, no, I was wrong. I thought Tang was invented in space. It wasn't. They just supposedly took Tang to space with them, right? But NASA didn't even invent Tang. And I thought that for the longest time, but they didn't, apparently. Other civil space programs in the bill had mixed outcomes. 2 ongoing weather satellite efforts at the National Oceanic and Atmosphere Administration, the GOES-R geostationary program, and the Polar Weather Satellites program received their full request of $276 million and $342 million, respectively. So, and forgive me, but I always thought that the NOAA satellites, the lie-mobiles, I thought that was part of NASA. So they get extra budgets for those, like, whatever. Yeah, we can't even go to the moon, right? But they're gonna send us to the moons of Jupiter. Yeah, that's sure you are, NASA. Okay, the GOES-R program is nearing the launch of its 4th and final satellite, GOES-U, scheduled for no earlier than May on a Falcon Heavy. The polar weather satellite funding will support continued work on the third and fourth joint polar satellite systems series of satellites scheduled for launch late this decade and early in the 2030s. So wait a minute. So they're giving them hundreds of millions of dollars right now in order to launch something in 10 years? What? Like, this doesn't make any sense, man. Like, honestly, like I've said before, I'm in the wrong business. I should really probably try to get my space hustle on, fellas, because wow, that's just crazy. So they get this extra money for these satellites that we all know what those are, right? They're high altitude balloons, obviously, which don't hardly cost nothing. I mean, sure, it would be expensive for like you or me to send up a weather balloon, which, you know, people have done and had really astonishing results when you don't put fisheye lens cameras on them, right? But they're just getting hundreds of millions of dollars right now for something that they don't even have to provide a product for until the 2030s, which is like next decade, man. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. For LEO weather satellites, a program also known as Near Earth Orbit Network, NEON, the bill, and that's a pretty clever anagram, I will say. The bill provides $78.5 million, less than the $133.6 million requested and the $96.4 million received in 2023. NOAA sought the increase to support work on a Pathfinder mission called Quicksounder. Man, like honestly, guys, I think that really we flurfers should put our heads together, draw up a business plan, and start putting in bids on NASA contracts, right? And it might not hurt if you've got some mafia connections, because we all know that they're a money laundering operation, right? But really, like, how hard could it be? How hard could it be to get NASA to pay you hundreds of millions of dollars for something that you don't even have to provide a product for like 10 years? Wow, man. It must be nice, let me tell you. In space weather, NOAA's space weather follow-on SWFO program received the $97.2 million it requested as its SWFO L1 mission readies for a 2025 launch. However, a successor to SWFO called the Space Weather Next received $151.6 million, the same as 2023, but less than the $225 million requested for 2024. Space Weather Next would begin work on a successor to SWFO L1 and an instrument flying on this European Space Agency's Vigil mission. To me, this just baffles the mind. Like, all this money that they're throwing at these projects that, so they asked for $225 million after they received $151.6 million last year. So they received $151.6 million last year for this SWFO Space Weather Next. And they got it. And what do we have to show for that? I don't know. And then they requested almost double that, $225 million for this year, but they only got $151.6 million again. And of course, they'll make it work, right? They'll make it work. I mean, because they're always going to ask high. You know, you aim high, you ask for more than you hope to get, and then they just give you hundreds of millions of dollars. Wow. NOAA also hosts the Office of Space Commerce, whose responsibilities now include development of a civil space traffic coordination system. Well, that's timely, seeing how, you know, they've supposedly had satellites in space, thousands of them, for decades now, and they just never seem to run into each other, but there is no sort of space traffic coordination system. How does that work? How do you not have a space traffic coordination system in place already? How in the hell aren't these satellites running into each other all the time, right? Without some space traffic coordination system. The bill provides $65 million for that office, less than the $70 million it received in 2023 and the $88 million requested for 2024. And what exactly do we have to show for that? Because again, we already know NASA that the weather satellites are high altitude weather balloons. They're not weather satellites, they're balloons, right? We already know that. But it doesn't cost hundreds of millions of dollars to send up weather balloons. I mean, not even close. So what the crap, man? The House version of the bill has provided an additional $5 million, or I'm sorry, past tense. The House version of the bill had provided an additional $5 million for the Office of Commercial Space Transportation, or AST, and directed the office to spend that money in improved launch and re-entry processes. The final bill stripped that funding, but the report does direct the FAA to dedicate resources to improve these processes. Like, I thought the whole thing that SpaceX was doing, I thought they had the launch and re-entry thing down pat, right? It's just absolutely crazy, man. Passage of the bill has left the industry relieved that uncertainty about spending levels is now resolved, although with some disappointment about what those levels are. Oh, they only got $151 million for their nonsense project that ain't gonna amount to nothing, right? They didn't get their $225 million. Woe is me. What are they ever gonna do? How are they gonna eat? How's NASA gonna eat, dude? You know, how are they gonna eat, man? With $151.6 million for the year just for that one thing. Must be hard, man. We got a quote here. After a series of continuing resolutions that stifled innovation, hurt the federal workforce, and delayed meaningful progress on key initiatives, AIA and our members are grateful Congress has provided full year funding for the Federal Aviation Administration and NASA. Eric Fanning said, President and Chief Executive of the Aerospace Industries Association, said in a March 9th statement. Yeah, so when they say the FAA, they are talking about the Federal Aviation Administration. Like seriously though, how does that get lumped in with NASA? That's what I want to know. Because the FAA, like, they have a definite important function, right? And we've just got planes falling apart, falling out of the damn sky, doors flying off, getting lost, all kinds of stuff. We got problems with the aviation stuff going on in our country, right? Big problems. But how did they get lumped in with NASA's budgeting? Like, I really don't understand. I mean, I understand that things fly, and so there is that, but the FAA deals with a lot of like real world stuff that's important, right? NASA doesn't. So I'm just really not sure how they ended up getting. Maybe we should all go apply for jobs lobbying for the FAA, right? I don't know. I'm spitballing here. The Planetary Society said in a March 7, I guess they just missed the word interview. Like, really, they need a copy editor on spacenews.com. The Planetary Society said in a March 7, it was happy the bill was done, quote, given recent political uncertainty, and encouraged that Congress ultimately found a bipartisan compromise to fund NASA. Oh, thank God. Thank God that they, the inept and arrogant and boneheaded idiots of Congress were able to give NASA billions and billions of dollars. That's a good thing. I'll sleep better tonight knowing that, for sure. It praised the bill for funding programs like the Near Earth Object Surveyor and Dragonfly missions, as well as directing NASA to set up a project office for the Habitable Worlds Observatory. However, the organization noted that the overall cut in NASA funding was focused almost entirely on NASA's planetary science programs, specifically Mars sample return. Quote, while Congress provided MSR with flexibility in its funding in 2024 and, crucially, emphasized its priority role in the program, the $483 million cut to the planetary division's top line effectively ensures that MSR remains on ice for the remainder of the fiscal year, the organization stated. Rating one division to support others is not a sustainable path forward for any decadal priority, nor for balance within NASA's science directorate. I mean, can you believe that they're complaining that they didn't get enough billions of dollars? That's fucking crazy. Excuse my language, I'm sorry. It just really makes me upset reading this stuff. I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna eat for lunch today, because all my money goes to hotels, and I can't even afford that. I know it's not a just comparison, but it's, you know, I got no tears for NASA. I ain't gonna lie. Okay, so that does it for that article. So when I was researching some of this stuff, for some reason I got onto this Boeing Starliner capsule. Okay, so Boeing, you know, we all know who Boeing is. It's a big company. They do a lot of research and development and developing planes and things for the Army and such. I got to thinking, like, you know, NASA did such a good job sending flying Freemasons to the moon back in the late 60s on their first try, and they did it, what, 6 times without a hitch, went off without a hitch. And then they destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again. But, you know, why is it that NASA retired their space shuttle program, right? Because they did a phenomenal job, you know, faking the moon landings. And so, but like, why are they giving hundreds of millions of dollars and even billions of dollars to companies like Boeing to come up with the things like Starliner? So first of all, so the Boeing Starliner project, Boeing was awarded $92.3 million contract by NASA in April of 2011 to continue to develop the CST-100 under CCD Phase 2, whatever that means. But so, like, I'm asking the question, why? Like, why did they nix NASA's shuttle program? So we've got a little article about that. This is from astronomy.com. Okay, so in 1972, Apollo 17 carried the last batch of astrolires to the lunar surface. But during that same year, NASA was already beginning the design and develop their next generation of crew-carrying craft. Like, really, this is just bad grammar on every last one of these articles that I'm reading with you guys. I've found obvious, blatant grammatical errors, like right in the first paragraph. Let me read it again. So in 1972, Apollo 17 carried the last batch of astronauts to the lunar surface. But during that same year, NASA was already beginning the design and develop their next generation of crew-carrying craft. Like, who writes this crap? Developing, right? That should have been the word. Anyway, nearly a decade later, the Space Shuttle was born. The Space Shuttle program eventually flew 135 missions, making it the core of American crewed spaceflight efforts for sorry, my computer's froze. I can't scroll. You have to wait. Bear with me just for a second here. Okay. For nearly 4 decades, it was the core of the American crewed spaceflight effort, the LiveMobile. The first orbital test flight, STS-1, carried out by Space Shuttle Columbia, blasted off April 12, 1981 from historic launch pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center. Who gives a flying fuck-a-doodle-doo? More than 30 years later, when Space Shuttle Atlantis rolled to a stop on the runway at July 21st, 2011, the shuttle program officially came to a close. And I wish that would have been the end of it, right? After the end of the shuttle era, American astronauts were forced to pay for rides aboard Russian rockets, a situation many found galling. But that's not the case anymore. Now we give billions of dollars to Elon Musk, the smartest idiot who ever lived. On May 30th, 2020, NASA's astronauts Doug Hurley and Robert Behnken launched to the International Space Station aboard SpaceX Crew Dragon spacecraft, marking the first crewed space flight launched from American soil since NASA retired the Space Shuttle. And in just a few short days, November 14th, NASA plans to launch the first official mission, Crew 1 of their commercial crew program. This article is a bit dated, obviously, but this is answering the question, like, what happened to NASA's in-house shuttle program, right? And it still isn't giving really good reasons. Anyway, but given the hiatus between the end of the space shuttle program and the start of the commercial crew program, many have wondered, why did NASA stop flying the space shuttle in the first place? Yeah. Maybe they grew a conscience, right? Maybe they felt bad for lying. No, I doubt it. Not NASA. Never. Sorry, my computer is fighting with me here. I'm having trouble scrolling down here. Okay. Jeez. Okay, so hopefully they're going to try to answer this question. Why did NASA stop flying in the first place? So first conceived during the heady and well-funded time around the initial moon landings, the space shuttle was intended to provide NASA with a low-cost means to bring humans and payloads to low Earth orbit. The shuttle was planned to not only visit Skylab, or AKA LiLab, but also to help with the construction of LiLab's successor space stations. Using the Spacelab module built by the European Space Agency, which was located in the rear of the shuttle's cargo bay, the space shuttle could pull double duty, performing many scientific experiments originally intended to be carried out aboard full-fledged space stations. All these potential benefits to the shuttle were piled on top of one key promise: rapid turnaround of the spacecraft between flights. Some NASA personnel even anticipated that a shuttle would be able to carry out back-to-back flights within just a week or two, right? And so the space shuttle was that thing that like goes tandem underneath the plane, and then they launch it off the plane or whatever, right? I guess, or off the rocket thing or whatever. Looks like a plane, and they attach it to the rocket. Real stupid-looking, goofy thing that definitely had rocket engines on the back of it, but they claimed it was a glider, right? All these potential benefits of the shuttle were piled up on top of one key promise: the back-to-back flights within just a week or two. So many of the predictions for the space shuttle came true. The fleet helped build the ISS, or the LISS, docked with the Mir space station, made extensive use of Spacelab, and carried many important payloads to orbit, including the Hubble Space Telescope, the Chandra X-ray Observatory, and interplanetary probes Magellan, Ulysses, and Galileo, among others. By any yardstick, NASA can be proud of these lies. Oh, accomplishments, not lies, accomplishments, sorry. Still, the space shuttle fell short in many respects, according to this article. First, and perhaps most importantly, the program was wildly expensive. Yeah, no shit. The average cost of a shuttle launch was a mind-boggling $450 million, far more than NASA had predicted. While the shuttle was proposed to make... My article just disappeared on me. Was proposed to make disposable rockets a thing of the past, it did exactly the opposite. Most customers who wanted to put satellites into orbit found conventional rockets to be a cheaper alternative. So it was wildly expensive, therefore, what, we sub it out to SpaceX and give Elon Musk the money? And they, yeah, the Roche 22 says, but they take it out of our money. Yeah, it's our money. Or it was until they stole it through, taxation. By the way, taxation without representation is theft and slavery. I'm not going to say it, but, we're definitely way overdue for a revolution in this world, in this country. Honestly, I think that's probably the main reason why they've got the fluoride in our water, to keep us dumbed down and docile. Anyway, second, the proposed launch schedules and turnaround times for the shuttle fleet were essentially fantasy. The fastest turnaround for any shuttle in the history of the program was 54 days. And after the Challenger disaster, the fastest turnaround was 88 days. A far cry from what NASA officials thought they could accomplish. Slower turnarounds meant fewer flights, which meant less access to space for paying customers, further driving businesses away from NASA. And these paying customers that want to put satellites in space, if these people found out how NASA's been snowing them and stealing their money to put satellites in space when it's really just high altitude weather balloons, you'd think they'd be pissed. I mean, unless they're all, somehow interconnected as part of this scam. I don't know, man. How many of these lying Freemasons are involved in the lie? Are they really charging these people millions of dollars to put satellites in space? I don't know, man. I don't know how deep the rabbit hole goes. Safety was also an issue of paramount importance for the space shuttle program, because we all know SpaceX has never lost a rocket, right? They've never had rockets explode. Oh wait, no, they totally have. So really, what was the point? But yeah, safety was an issue. In 1982, the space shuttle was declared operational by NASA, a term that conveyed that the technologies involved were far more mature than they actually were. So they could put lying Freemasons on the moon in 1969, but in 1982, they just didn't have the technology to even put things in orbit, what's the word I'm looking for? Cost effectively, right? My article keeps disappearing from in front of my face. That's just brilliant. Astronomy.com. Should pop back up, I reckon.
In theory.
Well, we might be done with that article, I reckon, because I know it's not coming back up. I guess astronomy.com doesn't want me reading this article to y'all. Wait, here it comes. The little thing's spinning around, so I guess that means something's coming. Sorry, y'all. We are experiencing minor technical difficulties. Hey, you got something to drink?
Water.
Can I have a swallow? Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so fine. So yeah, the article's not coming back up, but I guess so the reason, according to their own narrative, that NASA stopped the space shuttle program was because it was too expensive and too dangerous. However, as far as I can tell, NASA's budget has increased every year since then. And we're also having to pay subcontractors to do the same thing. I don't understand. Hey, Sea Lightning 300. Yeah, I mean, it's all a big scam, but so their logic is it was too expensive and too dangerous. So now Elon Musk and Russians are gonna take the astronauts into the ISS. I mean, how, like, that's so stupid. I'm sorry. It's just stupid. And what's even stupider, in my opinion, is that we actually believed these mofos for so long. Tasha Teeling, the trailer is done. All the main stuff is done. It's just cosmetic stuff left. And we could probably go ahead and move it and move into it, but you have to, there's processes, like you have to have inspections and you have to
There's some tires.
well, the tires are on there. It's just I've got to pay to have it moved. I got to pay to have the lot, and I just don't have it. All my money goes to this hotel. I could literally just cry. It's ready though. Just where it's sitting, it's not hooked up to sewer. It doesn't have any power run to it, but everything's done. The major stuff's done. There's cosmetic stuff that still needs done, and it costs a damn fortune to move it, like really, like a lot of money to move it that I don't have, and it's going to be $600 for the lot. Maybe I'll write NASA and ask them for just a few million. I mean, they'll probably do it, right? NASA loves me. Okay, so the article came back up. By the mid-'80s, much of the American public thought that spaceflight was routine. NASA was even launching astronauts into space wearing just simple coveralls and helmets, having ditched the pressure suits used in the Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo programs. Spaceflight on the space shuttle was so safe, the thinking went, that even a regular citizen could fly aboard the craft. Then came the catastrophic launch failure of the Challenger on January 28, 1986, which allegedly killed the entire crew. However, there is good evidence that the entire crew is still alive and well, or like a couple of them had twin brothers, you know what I mean? But yeah, what a nonsense pile of lies. Like it really starts to boil my blood when we read about this, because I mean, it was a psyop. It was a psychological operation to basically trauma-based mind control people into further solidifying their belief in NASA. Now, of course, it must have pissed people off that NASA blew up a bunch of, teachers and stuff or whatever, allegedly. But at the same time, it solidifies them as actually, sending people in rockets up to space, right? Which we know they're not doing. They couldn't be. It's bullshit, right? Then came the catastrophic launch failure of the Challenger, January 28th, 1986, which killed the entire crew, including the first teacher in space, Krista McAuliffe. This forever dispelled the notion that spaceflight was routine. Right. Yeah, and that was another important thing I think that they accomplished with that Challenger debacle, was they made it so that not just anybody can try to send, rockets or people into space, right? Because if NASA, with all their billions of dollars, can screw up that catastrophically, then we can't just let out, Joe Public try to send things into space. But then, like, look at the Go Fast rocket launch, you know, if you believe it. For like what, a couple $1,000, they sent a rocket up there? Like, whatever. The shuttle was revealed to be a high-risk experimental vehicle, something most astronauts had known all along. Sure they did. The subsequent investigation also revealed serious problems with NASA's safety culture. Still, the space agency took its lashings and made the changes required to get the shuttle flying again. But 17 years after the Challenger, Space Shuttle Columbia broke apart while returning into Earth's atmosphere. Yet again, the entire crew, this time featuring the highly publicized first Israeli astronaut, Ilan Ramon, was killed. Although the technical cause of the Columbia disaster was very different than what led to the loss of the Challenger, the investigation again found deep cultural problems at NASA. Yeah, they're a pack of liars and they're not actually sending people to space. That's why there's a cultural problem of safety, a cultural safety problem at NASA, because you can't go to space, people. The tragedy drove home that the space shuttle could never truly be safe. So all of these factors, high costs, slow turnaround, few customers, and a vehicle and agency that had major safety problems, combined to make the Bush administration realize it was time for the space shuttle program to retire. In President 2004, President Bush W gave a speech that outlined the end of the shuttle era, without clearly identifying what would come next or how much it would cost. This decision left NASA in limbo as they were suddenly dependent on the Russians for access to space. Isn't that so funny though? Like, and that wasn't even that long ago. That was 20 years ago. The remaining 3 space shuttles, Discovery, Endeavour, and Atlantis, are now museum pieces, as is the latest orbiter, Enterprise. Having seen some of the vessels in person, this writer here can attest that they are still breathtaking sights to behold. Liemobiles are pretty nice, ain't they? With SpaceX already launching humans into space, allegedly, and with other commercial space ventures making rapido progress, the future of manned spaceflight under NASA seems unclear. So why the hell are we still giving them $25 billion this year? You know, it's just, what doublespeak, what nonsense. For instance, the agency's proposed successor to the space shuttle, the Space Launch System with its Orion crew module, has yet to successfully fly at all, let alone with a crew. The end of the space shuttle program still looms large in the mind of NASA and the public at large. But in the end, it seems retiring it was the obvious choice, although a better plan on what would fill the shuttle's shoes would have been nice too. Yeah, and what exactly changed when they discontinued the shuttles? Like, did the world fall apart? Did our communication satellites stop functioning? Yeah, nothing happened because NASA don't amount to shit, people, right? Obviously. Okay, so that does it for that article. And you know, it just I should probably dig into this a little deeper, but I just wonder, does the 24.85 billion that NASA got awarded for 2024 fiscal year, do they have to pay Boeing out of that money, or is like the money that Boeing gets for their Star Cruiser or whatever, their Starliner Liemobil, is that extra on top of that? Like, I am curious. I mean, I guess it comes out of NASA's $24 billion or no? Because I guess that $24 billion is just their operational budget. So like, and it's so hard to research this stuff because it's like black budget, and they say, so like if you try to ask, or if you try to find out how much NASA, how much the Boeing Starliner tongue twister. How much was the Boeing Starliner contract with NASA worth? You get these weird answers. So like Boeing was awarded a $92.3 million contract by NASA in April 2011 to continue to develop the CST-100. So wait a minute. So to continue to develop, so how much did they get before to start to develop that, right? Like, and it's just really difficult to find out like how much this shit costs, and like, does the money that we're already giving NASA, the 24.875 billion, is there like subcontractor budget coming out of that, or is that just their operational budget? And it's like, good luck auditing NASA, right? When they've audited NASA in the past, they come to find that they're just wasting money left and right. And you would think that when you're just getting handed literally dozens of billions of dollars to do fuck all nothing, you would think you would be a little bit more frugal and responsible with your money. But like, they can't keep their shit together, man. It really is a joke. And forgive me, but I had another article I was going to reference, but it won't pull up. My computer is just spinning and spooling around. So, oh well. But I think we covered everything that I wanted to touch on, and we are over an hour 20. So, Tasha Tilling, I know most mobiles have wheels initially. A travel trailer should be easy to move. Yeah, this one's pretty big. So I can't just like tow it behind my car or something. It's got to be moved, and like there's costs involved. I want to say it's like $1,000 or something to move it less than 20 miles. But I think I found someone that's going to be cheaper. I just don't have it. Like, I don't have the money to move it. I don't have the money for the lot rent. But we're gonna get it. We're gonna make it happen. It's just I'm not made of money. Like, I just don't have it, you know. But it's done. Like, the big stuff's done. We got to move it. We got to pay the lot rent. But it's soon. Like, we're gonna be out of this hotel trap soon, and it'll be a load off. I'm so stressed, you guys. Like, it's like I'm going crazy, man. And like, I was about to take my laptop and just smash it against the wall today, because I can't get anything done on it. Like, it literally, like, just to open up an application, it takes it like 20 minutes. And for whatever reason, like, when I check my task manager, if you like use the internet for a while, there'll be like 50 instances of Firefox open running like 99% of my RAM. It's like, it's a pain. But anyway, so that wraps it up, you guys. 34 trillion in debt. Yeah. We're going to be all right, y'all. We're going to make it. I'm going to try to do another chapter of the Book of Enoch. I might actually do that today. Let me know. Y'all put in the comments or send me an email. Let me know if you want me to keep doing the Book of Enoch. I think it's brilliant. I think it's beautiful, and it's a great Old Testament book that was banned. Like, you don't find it in the standard Christian Bible, right? So I think it's good. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this one up, y'all. If you want to support, links are below. I appreciate y'all. Love you very much. And we'll see you in the next one. And I promise I will let y'all know. Okay, Roche, I will do it. I'll let y'all know if we're able to get the trailer moved and set up and on the lot. The lot rent where I'm moving it to is $400 a month, and that covers power, water, sewer, all that. Then there's a deposit the first month. So $600 is going to be the first month lot. It's like $1,000 to move the thing. It's like 25, 30 miles or whatever. Unless I might be able to do it way cheaper if things go right. So we'll see. Gospel of Thomas and Judas too. Yeah, the Nag Hammadi text. Yeah, I've done most of those. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. All right, y'all. One love. I hope y'all are enjoying the rest of your weekend, and I may go ahead and do chapter 2 of the Book of Enoch here shortly. So, love y'all much. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you very soon. Y'all be good. Bye.